Hi, this video is a tutorial for one way that teachers can use Google Sheets in their classrooms. The example that I'm going to discuss today is how to use conditional formatting to collect formative data for students. So I'm starting on the Google homepage. Next, I'm going to go to the app icon in the top right corner and choose Google Drive. Next, I'm going to create a new Google Sheet. I'm going to title my spreadsheet Student Data Chapter 4. That way, over the course of the year, as I accumulate different forms of data, I will have this for an easy reference. In column A, in cell 2, I'm going to begin by entering student names: Bob, Sue, Jane, and Steve. In cell B1, I'm going to enter across the row different topics that I will try to assess student understanding on in this chapter. For example, in chapter 4, we discuss percents, ratios, proportions, probability, and odds. Next, I'm going to highlight cells B2 through F5. These are the cells where I will be entering data to represent student understanding. Once those cells are highlighted, I will choose Format and Conditional Formatting. On the right side of my screen, a new window opens, and this is where I'm going to create rules to help represent the different levels of student understanding. In my classroom, I sort of use a 3-2-1 ranking system. 3 means that a student has a strong understanding and is ready to move on. 2 means they have somewhat of an understanding, but they still need some extra practice or some extra reinforcement. And 1 means they don't have a very strong understanding at this point in time. So I can use conditional formatting to represent that in a color coding way that's really helpful to me. So for example, I can choose that if a text contains the number 3, I'm going to color code that as green, meaning they're ready to go. They're ready to move on. Next, I can create a new rule. And if a cell contains the number 2, I'm going to color code that as yellow for caution. Another rule could be if the text contains the number 1, I'm going to color code that as red, as we need to stop and reteach a concept. So I sort of use the stoplight system of green means go, yellow is caution, and red means stop to represent student understanding. That's an easy rule for me to remember. I have also found in my classroom that it's helpful to also have a system for representing student absences. So for example, if a text contains the letter X, that's a symbol to me that the student was absent that day. So what I can do is choose custom format, and with the paint bucket over here, I can pick a different color, for example, black, because I want student absences to really jump off the page at me so I know that I need to follow up with those students. So this is my color coding system that I use in my class. Then, over the course of the chapter, on a day-to-day basis, I will use this spreadsheet on my iPad, and as I circulate around my classroom, I code what I feel student understanding is on particular concepts. So for example, for Bob with percents, if he has a strong understanding and I code him 3, as soon as I hit return, that cell changes to green. And as I circulate around the classroom, it's very easy for me to quickly enter just a quick number to represent student understanding, and it gives me a great visual. So obviously I could record this data just in a plain spreadsheet without color, but I'd just be looking at a series of numbers. And to me, the benefit of conditional formatting is with the color coding, it gives me a very quick visual of where students are. So as I progress through a chapter, or at the end of the chapter as I'm reflecting, seeing this color coding system gives me useful information. So for example, I can look at this information, this data vertically. If I look at the data related to percents, on the whole, my kids did a pretty nice job. 3 of my 4 students were green right away and were ready to proceed. I might want to follow up with Jane. However, on the day where I taught ratios, there was not the strong understanding that I would want before moving on. This would probably be a lesson that I would reteach, or at the end of the chapter, as I'm reviewing, I would make sure to put special emphasis on this. And I can go through and look at the different columns vertically as well and draw conclusions. I can also look at my data horizontally. So for example, Sue, when I look at her data, she was strong in 3 of the 5 topics. She might just need a little extra reinforcement on ratios and probability. When I look at Jane, however, she did not have any days where she was coded as green. So Jane is a student that I'd want to spend some extra one-on-one time with, reteach, maybe make a phone call home and just check in and let her folks know that she needs some extra support. So looking at the data vertically and horizontally helps me draw conclusions about where I need to focus my instruction and what students I need to support. Again, the color coding is helpful. I've also found the conditional formatting spreadsheets really helpful at parent conference time. Because again, instead of just looking at a sheet full of numbers, I can get a very quick impression by the color coding what areas students were strong in, what areas they might have struggled in, maybe in Bob's case, how absences played a part in his understanding, and sharing that information with parents is really powerful. So I hope this tutorial has provided a helpful strategy for collecting formative data in the classroom. Thank you.